Welcome back. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is getting slammed over his comments about the sexual harassment allegations against him. Back in February, Cuomo apologized for making, quote, others feel in ways I never intended. During a news conference in the Bronx yesterday, however, a reporter pressed the governor to admit that according to the law, his intentions don't matter when it comes to allegations of sexual harassment. Critics are calling his response jaw-dropping and truly alarming. Here's what he said. Watch.
You can leave this press conference today and say, oh, the governor harassed me. You can say that. I would say, I never said anything that I believed was inappropriate. I never meant to make you feel that way. You may hear it that way. You may interpret it that way. And I respect that. And I apologize to you if I said something you think is offensive. Harassment is not making someone feel uncomfortable. That is not harassment.
Oh, Raymond, this guy just keeps digging his grave wider and deeper.
You almost wish there were a quarantine in New York just to protect the ladies in New York State, okay, from this guy. He's like the Bill Clinton of New York at this point. Every moment he confirms the charge with the things coming out of his mouth. Look, this is a little bit, he says, this is not harassment. That's you feeling uncomfortable. That's like saying, this isn't physical abuse. Those are just bruises.
That's just how you feel.
Well, he's subject to his own rule here, though. He signed a very stringent sexual harassment law. And, Emily, you're the lawyer on the panel. Is he trying to dance out of his own regulations and laws here?
I think he's trying to dance out of his own liability in general. Now, the laws that he signed they weren't in effect at the time of these accusations that it took place, but it doesn't matter because New York State still had among the most strict harassment laws in the country. The first sentence on the AG's website of the state says unwelcome advances or comments, even a joke, is harassment. It has nothing to do with you feeling uncomfortable being the designator of whether or not that was harassment. It is crystal clear, Raymond, that all of this falls into that category. I don't even need to say allegedly anymore. It's absolutely jaw-dropping to quote my original introduction to this segment that he is still defending it in this ridiculous and deflecting way as he is undergoing right now over 5 investigations into his behavior in multiple arenas. Dr. Sapphire, you're the New Yorker among us. What are your thoughts on this, on him as a governor and the hole that he keeps digging himself every time he opens his mouth?
Well, Emily, this man is unbelievable at this time, and he continues to change the definitions of everything as long as it fits his narrative and makes him come out as the quote-unquote good guy, which he really does think he is the good guy when the rest of us are scratching our heads. You are exactly right, Emily. Harassment is not how someone interprets it. It is an unwanted comment, advance, even a gesture that someone could feel uncomfortable with. And yes, when you have an older man in power, and then the majority of people making complaints are younger women who are in lesser positions for him, yes, there's a very slippery slope there of them feeling uncomfortable. And the fact that he's just changing the definition on what harassment is, it is completely hypocritical, it is dangerous, and he is just wiping away people who have legitimate sexual harassment claims. They're going to have fear of actually coming out now because they're going to have someone like Governor Cuomo on the TV saying, well, it's just how you feel. It doesn't mean that I actually harassed you. And he's making the victims actually feel more like victims, and they're going to be less likely to come out and come forward against them.
Yeah.
Right, Jillian, he's doing exactly, he's writing his own script here by saying that it turns on his intent. Oh, I didn't mean to, but that's ironically part of the allegations that this climate and culture that he fostered there as governor, that's partly why it was so toxic, right? That he would brush off anything and that nothing matters, no consequence to the person matters because it's all about what he intended, which is it's no big deal.
Emily, tell me if I'm misunderstanding this, but we have to do sexual harassment training here and are taught that not only does the intention of the perpetrator not matter, but the feelings of the victim almost don't matter, in the sense that what matters is whether this sort of crime, for lack of a better word, was actually perpetrated, meaning other people in the workplace can identify sexual harassment between 2 other people and take action. So there's not a lot of room for objectivity when it comes to this kind of stuff. The rules are pretty cut and dry. What I'm saying here is, even if a victim has not complained, it doesn't, even that doesn't mean that sexual harassment didn't occur, right? It could still occur in the workplace or anywhere.
You're right. You're right. There in New York State, if the victim, even if the victim is like, oh no, it's okay, you know, I knew he was kidding, or it's no big deal, that doesn't matter. It can still be sexual harassment, designated as such, and fall under their local, state, and federal laws against it.